The soft light from the desk lamp glowed on the wooden table in the small upstairs office where I, Emily, 45 years old, was checking order emails for Handcrafted Haven, the online business selling necklaces and crafts that I ran from our suburban home in Boulder, Colorado. The gentle clicking of keys blended with the lavender scent from the candle on the shelf, while the Colorado mountains rose majestically through the window, and I smiled at a new order from a customer in Seattle. As a housewife for 15 years, I loved taking care of my husband Tom and our daughter Sophie, making breakfast or pruning the garden. But in this little corner, I was a businesswoman, quietly building Handcrafted Haven into $1 million a year enterprise. Boulder knew me through the homemade cookies I brought to community fairs, or when I helped neighbors decorate the stage for the fall festival. But no one knew about the craft empire I had been silently building. I didn't keep it a secret out of shame, but because I wanted to prove my worth in my own way, quietly but firmly, like a mountain standing strong against the cold wind. While reviewing the revenue report, a message from my sister-in-law Susan popped up on my phone screen, making my heart tighten as if a cold gust of wind had swept through Emily tonight. Is Mom's 50th anniversary celebration at the community hall. Remember to wear something simple. No need to show off. You're just a housewife, right? Mom said, you should bring dessert, and please don't embarrass everyone. The arrogant, cold words pierced deep into my pride like a needle, freezing me in place. For a moment, my hand tightening around the sapphire necklace on my neck. The very first piece I ever sold. Now a symbol of the quiet strength I've preserved. I stood in my office, trying to steady my breathing, as the desk lamp shone onto the laptop screen, a storm of emotions rising inside me. For the past 15 years, I'd endured mockery from my in-laws, from my mother-in-law Margaret, calling me useless at family dinners, to Susan, scoffing every time I mentioned dreaming of doing something big. They thought I was only good for mopping floors, cooking meals, and being nothing more than a wife and mother. But I took a deep breath, the lavender scent grounding me, and I typed back calmly but firmly, I'll bring the dessert, Susan, and I'll make sure everything is perfect, just as Mom wants. I touched the necklace, feeling the cool stones under my fingers, and recalled the words of my own mother who passed away 8 years ago. Emily, true strength doesn't have to be loud. It lies in your steady heart. I looked out at the Colorado mountains through the window, their peaks glistening under the sunlight, and whispered to myself, they were wrong to underestimate me, and I will make them see me differently. Have you ever felt belittled by family just because you chose a quiet, simple life? I've been through that, but I know that tonight, the truth about who I am will shine brightly. The sarcasm from my in-laws had crept into my life long ago, like cold winds sweeping through the Colorado mountains, blowing through the days. I quietly cared for my family, but I had learned how to stand tall without letting them break me. Margaret would often say directly to my face during family dinners that Tom should have married a woman with a shining career, someone who could stand alongside him in society, not someone who only knew how to wash clothes and cook like me. Susan always smirked whenever I talked about my idea of selling handmade crafts online, saying my little necklaces couldn't feed anyone, that they were just trinkets, not worth caring about. Tom, my husband, never directly mocked me, but he chose silence, letting his mother and sister freely insult me without speaking up to defend me. I used to be deeply hurt, used to stand in the kitchen, wiping away tears, thinking I was small and worthless in their eyes. But 5 years ago, when Sophie started high school, I decided I would no longer let their words define me. I started Handcrafted Haven, at first just selling a few necklaces on Etsy, working late at night when the whole house was asleep, the desk lamp my only companion. But my business grew from a few scattered orders to thousands each month, from a small corner on Etsy to a full website with a team of remote employees. I kept it a secret, not out of fear or shame, but because I wanted to prove my worth without needing validation from anyone, not even my in-laws. One evening while checking orders, I happened to see a post from Susan in the family group chat saying I was baking cookies for the community fair again. And that was probably the biggest achievement Emily could ever have. The cruel words froze me like a cold wind blowing straight through my heart, but I didn't let them drown me. I wiped away a tear and whispered to myself, I'm stronger than this, and I will prove it. I opened my laptop, checked the business account, and saw that last year's revenue had exceeded $2 million, all the result of my hard work and passion. I immediately created a separate account, transferred all Handcrafted Haven profits into it carefully, like how I set each gem onto my necklaces. I began documenting every insult from texts, social media posts, to Margaret's words at family gatherings. Meanwhile, I called Rachel, my best friend from college, who is now a business consultant in Denver, and said firmly, Rachel, I need you to review Handcrafted Haven's entire financial report, and I want everything perfect for tonight's party, where I'm going to reveal everything. Rachel laughed loudly on the phone voice, full of excitement. Emily, once your in-laws find out the truth about your business, I bet they won't be able to say a single word to your face. I stood up, looking out at the Colorado mountains, glowing under the sunset. The sapphire necklace around my neck, feeling heavy. But it was strength, not burden. I turned back to the office, continued checking orders. Every click a reminder that I had built Handcrafted Haven with my bare hands. Have you ever felt like you had to fight to prove your worth to the world, even when those closest to you turned away? I'm doing just that. And what I'm about to do tonight will leave them speechless, in the face of the undeniable truth. That afternoon, I sat in my small office, wrapping the homemade lemon tarts I had prepared for the anniversary party. The fresh scent of lemons filled the air, bringing a sense of peace amidst the emotional storm brewing inside me. Sophie walked in, her eyes lighting up when she saw the sapphire necklace I had just finished for a special client. Mom, this is from Handcrafted Haven, right? You really are the most amazing person I know, Sophie said, her voice full of pride like a warm breeze blowing through my heart. I smiled, hugged her. But just at that moment, a message from Margaret appeared on my phone screen, freezing me like a gust of cold wind cutting through my skin. Emily, don't say much at the party tonight, okay? The guests are all important people, and no one wants to hear trivial stories about your housework. Her cruel words, like a sharp knife, made my blood boil for a moment. Sophie looked at me, her eyes full of concern, waiting for my reaction. But I kept a gentle smile on my face and said to her, Sophie, help me wrap these tarts, and tonight you'll see me do something really special. Inside, I had made an irreversible decision. My in-laws didn't just disrespect me. They wanted me to become invisible, pushed to the margins in the very family I had spent my life loving and caring for. As Sophie left the room, I called Rachel, my voice calm but sharp, each word carefully measured. Rachel, have you prepared all the documents about Handcrafted Haven? I want to make everything public at tonight's anniversary party. And I need every number, every piece of evidence to be crystal clear so no one can doubt it. Rachel replied with unmasked excitement, Emily, everything is ready from the financial report to the article in Forbes, and I'll be at the party to support you if needed, but I believe you'll leave the whole room in awe. I returned to the desk, continuing to wrap the tarts, each movement like a brushstroke, painting my life, reminding me of the long nights spent building Handcrafted Haven. That evening in the suburban house, dim lights surrounded the living room, and I opened my laptop to review the financial report of my business. The impressive figures on revenue contracts with major retailers and an article in Forbes calling me an anonymous businesswoman appeared clearly on the screen. I closed my eyes, letting the pain of Margaret and Susan's sarcastic words pass through, not because I was weak, but because I knew I was about to reclaim justice in my own way. I stood up, looking out at the Colorado mountains through the window, the gentle winds blowing, as if encouraging me to be stronger than ever. The sapphire necklace around my neck was now a statement. I wasn't just a housewife. I was a woman who had built an empire from quiet dreams. I opened my phone, checking the anniversary party schedule for that night, where my in-laws and friends would gather. That would be my stage, where I would make everyone fall silent before the truth. Have you ever wanted to stand up for your own worth in front of your loved ones, even though your heart is breaking? I have, and I chose to fight in a subtle way. But with an irresistible strength, I drove to the community center, where the 50th wedding anniversary party for my in-laws was being held. My heart heavy, but my will as sharp as a carefully honed blade, I wanted to focus on the party to temporarily forget the bitter sarcasm. But a call from Mrs. Harper, a familiar guest from the Boulder Charity Circle, left me stunned, as if the whole world suddenly tilted. "Emily, I heard Susan telling everyone that you're just a housewife. Nothing special to contribute to the community," Mrs. Harper said, her voice hesitant, as though she didn't want to believe those words. "Susan said you only know how to bake and clean. And, because of that, our charity board may not need your participation." I froze as if a cold wind from the Colorado mountains had just blown through, making me shiver at the betrayal from my in-laws' handcrafted haven had been a secret I had kept for years. But I never expected Susan and Margaret to spread rumors that demeaned me before the entire Boulder community, where I had dedicated so much effort through fairs and charity events. I asked further, and Mrs. Harper revealed that Susan had told the charity group that I had nothing to offer except caring for Tom, that I was a useless wife without vision. I sat in the car looking at the carefully wrapped lemon tarts beside me, feeling like the ground was collapsing beneath my feet. This business was my dream, the place where I found joy through long nights of weaving silver threads and choosing sparkling gemstones. But if these rumors spread, I could lose my opportunity to collaborate with the community, something I had always cherished and valued. Doubt began to creep into my mind, but just at that moment, Sophie called, her bright and energetic voice breaking through. "Mom, I just saw an article about Handcrafted Haven online, and they're calling you a superhero. I can't wait to see you do something amazing at the party tonight." My daughter's words pulled me out of the darkness like a warm breeze blowing through my heart. I took a deep breath, the scent of lemons from the tarts gently reminding me of why I started Handcrafted Haven, to prove my worth. No matter the disrespect, I called Mrs. Harper back, my voice firm but still calm. "Mrs. Harper, I really appreciate you letting me know what's going on. I will prove tonight that I'm not just a housewife, and I hope you'll be there to see the truth revealed." Mrs. Harper was surprised, but she agreed to attend the party. The rumors continued to spread, with a few acquaintances in Boulder whispering that I would never achieve anything big beyond taking care of my family. I texted Rachel, my voice filled with resolve. "Rachel, bring all the Handcrafted Haven documents to the party tonight. I need them to see the truth about what I've achieved." Rachel replied immediately, "I'll be there, Emily, and I've prepared everything for you to make the whole room go wild." I looked out the car window, the afternoon sunlight shining on the sapphire necklace, a reminder that I stood firm despite all the lies and disrespect. Have you ever felt like the whole world misjudged you just because of the lies from those closest to you? I've been through that, but I know that tonight I will make the truth about myself shine brighter than ever before. That afternoon, Rachel sent me a detailed financial report, and the numbers within it were like a powerful wind blowing away the cloud of doubt in my mind. Handcrafted Haven was not only profitable, but it also had contracts with 3 major national retailers, with the business valued at $5 million. Andy was the sole shareholder. Rachel also found a series of emails Susan sent to her friends in the charity group, in which she wrote, "Emily is just Tom's shadow. She's never done anything significant except cooking and cleaning." Margaret also texted Susan, her tone arrogant, "Make sure Emily doesn't get too big for her boots at the anniversary party. She's just a housewife, nothing to brag about." I sat in the small office upstairs, holding the report tightly, feeling the sapphire necklace around my neck Burning like the sting of those mocking words, I called Sophie over and shared with her my plan to reveal the truth at tonight's party. My voice full of resolve. Sophie, I've kept the secret about Handcrafted Haven for too long, but tonight I will show the whole family what I've accomplished, and I want you to be there to witness it. Sophie hugged me tightly, her eyes shining. Mom, I'll be there to cheer you on, and I know you'll blow everyone away because you're the strongest woman I've ever known. Her words made me smile, and I felt a surge of strength inside, like an unstoppable flame. I thought of what my mother used to say. True strength doesn't need to be loud. It lies in the unwavering heart of yours. I chose an elegant black dress, wore the sapphire necklace, the best-selling jewelry from Handcrafted Haven, as a symbol of the truth I was about to reveal. I carefully prepared a USB drive containing the financial report, the Forbes article, and Susan and Margaret's nasty emails. That evening, I stood before the mirror in the suburban home, looking at myself in the black dress, the necklace sparkling under the lights, like a statement. I was no longer Emily, just a housewife who my in-laws once mocked. I was Emily, the one who had built an empire from long nights of tireless work, and I would prove it to everyone. I drove to the community center hall, the lights twinkling in the distance, the smell of fresh flowers from the banquet tables filling the air, creating a cozy yet tense atmosphere. Susan stood at the door, flashing a smug smile. Emily, how are the tarts? I hope you did well, because we don't want any mistakes at this important party. And you know we're counting on you not to embarrass anyone. I looked her straight in the eye, smiling gently, my voice calm but sharp. Don't worry, Susan, everything will be perfect, and I guarantee tonight will be an evening no one in the family will forget. Inside, I knew their mockery would soon crumble before the truth. Have you ever felt like your life-changing moment was near when the truth was about to be exposed to everyone? I felt it, and I was fully prepared to make my in-laws fall silent. The community center hall was magnificent, with sparkling crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, the light reflecting off the cream-colored walls, while the laughter and chatter of the guests echoed throughout the space, creating a warm yet formal atmosphere. I walked in the black dress, standing out under the lights, the sapphire necklace gleaming like a small flame that couldn't be extinguished. Margaret sat at the main table, looking at me and whispering something to Susan, their smiles full of disdain, as if I were just an inconsequential guest. I pretended not to hear, placing the lemon tarts on the banquet table, decorated with fresh flowers, smiling at Sophie, who was taking pictures with her friends at the corner of the hall. Rachel arrived, handing me the USB containing all the evidence, whispering with an encouraging tone, Emily, just keep going. I'm here to support you, and I know you'll astonish everyone in this room with the truth. After the meal, Margaret stood up, introducing the 50th anniversary party for her and my father-in-law, her voice ringing with pride. But then she looked at me with a cold stare and said, Emily, I think you should say a few words, but keep it short, because the guests here are important, and I'm sure no one wants to hear any trivial stories about your housewifery. The guests chuckled, Susan smirking with arrogance, as if she had won before I even spoke. I stood up, my hand gently touching the sapphire necklace, feeling the cool stones under my fingers, and my voice rang out clearly, calmly, but full of strength. I'm very grateful to my mother-in-law for giving me the chance to say a few words at this special event, but instead of a short speech, I'd like to share a story about value, about quiet strength, and about what a person can achieve even when no one believes in them. Margaret frowned her eyes, showing displeasure, but the guests began to look at me with curiosity. Their eyes fixed on me, I plugged the USB into the projector, and the large screen in the hall displayed the Forbes article with the title, Anonymous Businesswoman Builds an Empire Out from a Small Loft, in Boulder. I continued to project the financial report for Handcrafted Haven, showing a revenue of $2 million last year, and the business valued at $5 million. Meanwhile, I displayed a series of emails from Susan in which she wrote, "Emily is just Tom's shadow. She's never done anything significant except cooking and cleaning." The crowd fell silent, then began whispering quietly, their gazes shifting from astonishment to admiration. Margaret paled, her hands trembling while Susan stood up abruptly, her voice shaky and panicked. "This is a fake. Emily, how could you create this stuff to blame us? You're just a housewife. How could you run such a big business?" I looked her straight in the eye, my voice sharp but still calm. "Susan Margaret, you thought I was just a housewife, mocked me, spread malicious words to belittle me in front of the family and community. But I built Handcrafted Haven from long nights of work, from bare hands and a resolute heart. And today I stand here to prove that true strength doesn't need to be loud." Sophie stood up, clapping proudly, and the whole crowd followed the applause echoing throughout the hall. Margaret lowered her head, speechless, while Susan sat down, her eyes vacant as if all her arrogance had vanished. I stepped down from the podium, my head held high, the sapphire necklace sparkling under the lights like a blazing fire. Have you ever witnessed the moment when those who belittled you have to face the truth and fall silent? I've experienced that moment, but what I did next was even more profound. After the party, I sat in the car, the moonlight streaming through the window, bringing a gentle feeling like a mountain breeze blowing through my soul. Sophie hugged me tightly, whispering with an emotional voice, "Mom, I'm so proud of you. You've shown the whole family how wonderful you are, and I know how strong you had to be to do that." I smiled, holding her hand, but deep inside, the wounds from the mocking words of my in-laws still ached like scratches on a precious stone that hadn't healed. I drove back to the suburban house, opened my laptop, and read the emails from the guests at the party, who expressed admiration for Handcrafted Haven and their amazement at my success. But I knew that true victory wasn't just about silencing Susan and Margaret or regaining the respect of my family. It was about healing the wounds deep within my soul. I stepped into the backyard garden under the silver moonlight, touched the sapphire necklace, and thought about the long nights of working, when I doubted myself, wondering if I was truly strong enough to face the contemptuous words from my closest loved ones. I used to think I was small, worthless, in the face of those jabs. But now I realized I was stronger than I had ever imagined. I wrote a letter to my mother, who had always believed in me, even though she wasn't here anymore. "Dear Mom, I've found my light again, and I hope you're smiling from afar." I placed the letter next to the family photo frame in the living room with the sapphire necklace beside it now, a treasured memento, a symbol of my journey through the darkness. I started jogging every morning, feeling the Colorado mountain breeze blowing through my hair, bringing a sense of freedom, like when I wove each silver thread for the necklaces. Meanwhile, I learned to paint, sketching the majestic mountains of Boulder, finding joy in the simplest things, from a brushstroke to Sophie's smile. One evening in the suburban house, the soft light surrounded the living room, and I sat with Sophie, sharing my dream of expanding Handcrafted Haven to the international market, turning it into a global brand. Sophie held my hand, her eyes shining brightly. "Mom, I believe you can do anything, and I will always be here to support you, just like you've always been there for me." I hugged her tightly, feeling like I had found myself again. Not just Emily disrespected by her in-laws, but Emily strong, creative, and unyielding. The sapphire necklace is now a reminder. I didn't just defeat Susan and Margaret. I conquered my deepest fears. Have you ever found your light after the darkest days, when it felt like the whole world had turned its back on you? I did. And it's more beautiful than any dream I ever had. My in-laws no longer mocked or looked down on me. One morning, Margaret called, her voice hesitant, full of regret. "Emily, I really didn't know you had achieved such great success with Handcrafted Haven. And I'm sorry for judging you all this time." Susan was silent, no longer posting sarcastic comments on social media or making snide remarks in the family chat group. But I didn't stop at accepting their apologies. I expanded. Handcrafted Haven signed additional contracts with national retailers, doubling the revenue in just a few months, taking my brand to a whole new level. Rachel helped me establish a charity fund to support women who wanted to start their own businesses, but were doubted by their families or society. One day, Mrs. Harper came to my suburban home, her voice sincere. "Emily, I'm sorry for believing in the rumors Susan spread, and I truly admire your story. Could you design a necklace collection for our upcoming charity gala?" I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through my heart, and immediately agreed. Handcrafted Haven was now not just a business, but a symbol of resilience and integrity in Boulder, not only for the exquisite handcrafted items, but also for my story, a woman who turned mockery into motivation to rise up. I launched a new necklace line inspired by the Colorado mountain range, using turquoise stones and silver wire, just like the sapphire necklace I wore at the party. Each piece of jewelry is a reminder that I overcame the darkness to create something beautiful and lasting. I opened my laptop, looking at the new orders coming in from all over the world. The light from the small upstairs office, whispering that I wasn't just surviving, I was living a life more brilliant than ever. Sophie, now in college, called home saying one of her friends wanted to start a business in Crafts Mom. She says she's doing it because she heard your story, and I'm so proud. Sophie said, her voice glowing. I hugged the phone as if hugging her, knowing that not only had I changed my life, but I had also inspired others to pursue their dreams. Have you ever thought you were just an ordinary person, not strong enough to make a difference in this world? I used to think that, but now I know I'm a flame that cannot be extinguished, and my light is spreading all over Boulder. The town of Boulder no longer mentions Susan or Margaret's sarcastic remarks. Instead, they talk about me, about Handcrafted Haven, and how I turned those dismissive words into motivation to rise stronger than ever. I organized a workshop called Rebirth at the Boulder Community Center, where dozens of women from across Colorado gathered to share and heal their wounds. The hall was illuminated with soft yellow lights, and the smell of artisanal coffee filled the air, creating a safe space for them to cry, laugh, and reconnect with their inner strength. Claire, one of the participants, approached me after the workshop, her eyes red but sparkling with hope. "Missy, Emily, my husband once said that my entrepreneurial dream was pointless, that I wasn't good enough to do it, but your story gave me the courage to stand up and start, no matter how hard it was." I took her hand, my voice gentle but firm. "Claire, you're stronger than you think, and your dream is a light no one can extinguish. Hold on to it." The workshop quickly gained momentum, with dozens of people signing up each week, turning it into a movement in the Boulder community. I invited Rachel to share about starting a business with limited resources, and her voice rang out with strength. Women must believe in their own worth, no matter what anyone says, because true strength lies in our unwavering hearts. I looked out at the crowd, seeing eyes shining like precious stones sparkling on my sapphire necklace. The necklace, now placed in a glass jar on my desk, in my small office, symbolizes all of us, a hidden value that cannot be overshadowed, no matter how thick the darkness is. Meanwhile, I organized a fundraising event at the community hall, drawing hundreds of people and raising $80,000 to support women who wanted to start their businesses but lacked resources. On stage, my black dress shimmered under the chandelier lights as I recounted my journey from Susan's mocking texts to the moment I made the entire hall fall silent with the truth about Handcrafted Haven. Each of us has a necklace inside. It's the dream, the dignity, the light that no one can take away, I said, my voice choked but resolute. The crowd stood and applauded. Sophie sat in the stands, smiling with an unmistakable pride. After the event, a young woman approached me, her eyes moist but filled with determination. Ms. Emily, I just opened an online store selling handmade goods, and I did it because I heard your story, because you showed me that I can. I hugged her tightly, whispering, "You have found your light, and that's the most beautiful thing you can do." The town of Boulder now knows I'm not just a housewife. I'm the one who ignites dreams and awakens resilience in the community. I think about my mother's words. True strength doesn't need to be loud. I opened my laptop and saw an email inviting me to speak at a women's conference in Denver. I smiled and replied, "I'll be there, and I'll bring my story." Have you ever thought that you could change the lives of others just by living true to yourself? I never dared to dream of that. But now I see a whole community becoming stronger because of the light I found. I sat in the suburban house, the soft lights surrounding the living room, holding a still warm cup of coffee, looking out at the Colorado mountains shimmering under the moonlight, as if they were whispering their own secrets. At 45, Emily was no longer the wife who trembled in the face of her in-laws' caustic remarks, words that once made me doubt my own worth. I am a successful entrepreneur, an inspiration, and the light I rediscovered after those dark days. Handcrafted Haven now has 4 branches, 30 employees, and a brand mentioned in national magazines from Forbes to Vogue. I opened my notebook and wrote the final lines as a message to my mother, who had always believed in me. Life is like the Colorado mountain, treacherous and full of challenges, but you can conquer it if you believe in yourself and keep your heart steadfast. I thought about Susan's message, her arrogant words saying I was just a housewife not worth showing off. She was wrong, and I proved that not just with words, but with actions and undeniable truth. My business is the fire that keeps me alive, the place where I turn pain into sparkling gems, just like the intricate details in my handcrafted designs. I turned over the family photo frame on the table, placing it next to the sapphire necklace from the fateful party with the inscription "Silent Strength," delicately engraved on the silver chain, a reminder of my journey. I didn't erase my in-laws from my life, but they no longer define me or shake me. I stepped out into the backyard, feeling the mountain breeze blowing through, bringing a sense of freedom and peace, like when I first wove the silver wire for Handcrafted Haven. My journey wasn't just about silencing Susan and Margaret or making millions from my business. It was a journey of rediscovering Emily, a strong, creative woman who would never back down from lies or contempt. I opened my laptop and saw an email from the women's conference in Denver. Your story is an inspiring flame, and we look forward to hearing you speak at our event. I smiled and replied, I'll be there, and I'll bring my light to share with everyone. You, the one listening to this story. I want to tell you that life can be full of sarcasm, doubt, and challenges that seem impossible to overcome, but you're stronger than you think. Find your own necklace, that's your dream, your dignity, your light within, and never let anyone make you feel it's not worth it. Live positively. Find joy in the little things, from a handmade item made with all your heart, a sincere smile, or a dream you're slowly conquering. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, whispered to myself, Emily, you did it, and you will continue to shine. I looked out at the Colorado mountains, knowing that my journey is not over, but has just begun.